spring, he said, Dad, will you help me teach his son who's only 4, how to fish? Because that's something that he got cut short on too. But yeah. Good evening, John.
I got a letter from, did you get the same letter about?
Tim?
Yes.
What I'll do is I'll open it up and then call on you.
Sure.
And then you can.
Yeah, I will. I'll introduce the
Yeah.
LOC team and
Go from there.
from there.
Yeah.
Share a porch. So they were wondering if we could do anything. Any other problem on Pickett Street?
There's more people here than I thought that were.
Share a porch, front porch. And the neighbor
I think they're most of Carol.
is going on.
She's still listening, I think.
I don't feel like there's really anything we can do. You can't see it from the street.
No, unless it's a hazard.
I don't think I'm the person to talk
rodent.
to about
It's an
it.
interesting idea.
Infested.
I mean,
I could go smaller for
We had
small.
that when
Size 2 font.
was on council.
I like the font, I like the spacing, just keep it on 2 pages.
He was over by
I tried.
the
It's a lot
tower
going on, right? We got good stuff.
on that street,
It'll probably all
and we had a problem.
And you gotta be careful of the jinx.
It is probably.
That was close.
It's not,
Throwing out a jinx.
You are.
That's true. There was
it
one
can
that
be
was like
trashy,
a
but it
total
can be
Angie jinx, like a 45-minute
I said, oh, but
jinx.
what
So
happens
you
if we
can't
get
see it from the
snow?
street.
And then it major snowstorm, right?
And then I don't think we were
Somebody
supposed
comes to look
to.
at it.
Yeah,
That was in for an open
Sale,
house or
obviously.
something.
Yes,
that was the,
You're
yes.
right, and there's a toilet.
That was the, was
Yeah.
it downtown,
Something
or
like that.
the
Wasn't
Dam,
they
dam,
asked
yep.
them, please.
Thank you, yes.
no interest in it. That's sad. That's too bad. Ready, Anna? Good evening. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole for November 26, 2024. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Tauschak.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Matzdorf.
Here.
Gilson.
Here.
Hildebrand. Penkwitz.
Here.
Bender.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is the approval of the minutes from October 29th, 2024.
Second motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a presentation and discussion on the lock block project. I'll ask our city administrator, Tim Blakesley, to start the discussion. Tim?
Sure. So my portion of this is going to be very brief tonight. I'm going to introduce the Lock Block project team, Lee Gentine, Jennifer Lerke, Louis Gentine. I know we're going to be presenting. I think Brian Dowdna as well. So they're going to be introducing this really exciting project here in Plymouth. Feel free to ask questions after the presentation. We'll also be discussing later on in closed session tonight some of the public-private partnership points that will be brought up during the presentation. So without further ado, I'll introduce the team.
Thanks. You've already introduced our team, which was one of the jobs we had. Let's just kind of walk through the agenda, which starts with the introduction of the participants. So we do have Louis, we have Jennifer, we have Michelle Gentine, who is going to be taking the lead on interior design. We have Lola Ray, who is working as a hotel consultant for us. We also have Brian Dowdna, who all of you know. And we have my brother Lou, although we're questioning where he is because he's part of the agenda. So, but the agenda is pretty simple. we're going to talk about why our family is making this investment. We're going to give you an overview of the hotel. We're going to give you your chance to look at the renderings of what these buildings are going to look like. And we're going to talk about the economic impact. You know, we're standing in a space right now that used to be the home of Henry and Mary Locke. There's their home right there. Can you guys see this?
Yes,
Yep.
we've got
We
it.
got it. We have it right in
Oh, yeah,
front of
here. Henry and Mary obviously had a vision. And they built the building in 1875, and our house is the cheese counter. That was really probably the first restoration that the redevelopment authority did in Plymouth. And but they had a bigger idea relative to what they wanted to do, and that included building that block in 3 different phases. And that'll be discussed further by Jennifer, but there's a good chance that right now we may be sitting in the dining room or one of the bedrooms of when Mary and Henry had this home built. Incidentally, that home was considered one of the most grand homes in the county, and it was built for $25,000. So, with that, I want to introduce my nephew, Louis.
All right, thank you. Happy to be here tonight. You know, our family's kind of linkage back to the city of Plymouth goes back to the early 1930s when my grandma and grandpa started the Gentine Funeral Home, you know, right on Eastern Avenue. You know, certainly our commitment became a little bit bigger when he decided to, and thankfully I would say, settle on cheese and start Sargento back in 1953. The community has always been a part of our identity as a family as well as a company. In fact, the community is one of our key stakeholders. When we make decisions each and every day, we're always making those in mind with all of our key stakeholders. I certainly recognize and really appreciate and thank the kind of mutual support that the community has given us, just as the community has provided to Sargento. You know, some of the expansions that we've been able to do happened as a result of kind of that partnership between the private sector as well as the public sector. Now I want to turn to the Locke Block, because you know, this started out as a much smaller project than what it has turned into today. You know, our first kind of vision was to purchase just the Locke building that had been sitting vacant for quite a long time. And the idea originally, you know, of my dad and Lee and I was to let's bring that back to the outside exterior, make it look good, you know, do some things on the inside to make it attractive from a retail standpoint, and then basically call it a day. You know, when the 52 Stafford came up, based on the position that they were in to sell, we began thinking about what this project really could be, and be a lot more than just a make it look good on the outside and you know, do some improvements inside and call that a day. It was really more of, now it turned into how can we create a signature destination right here in downtown Plymouth that can not only serve our community, but can also potentially be a catalyst for a lot more investment in the city of Plymouth and the downtown area. So what did we come up with? We came up with creating a historic 35-room boutique hotel located actually in both of the buildings, so the combination of both of those buildings into one. A restaurant and bar, and then also a banquet facility that, you know, right now we're thinking could be able to have the capacity of about 125 people, which is also a need in this area, not just Plymouth, but the surrounding area of kind of finding that smaller banquet size facilities for a number of different types of events. We desire to do more, and we're looking at doing other amenities to help support the hotel, to include things like a spa, which both the community as well as the hotel guests can use, as well as potentially creating the first rooftop bar in the city of Plymouth, looking over the Mullet River off of that southwest corner of the building. And with the parking lot improvements that you're considering doing in that back of the area, we feel that that could be a really nice kind of visual out over onto the river. So we are very, very excited about this project. Again, we've been on a journey since purchasing the first building and then the second journey. We're excited to work with the city on kind of creating the right development opportunity for us. But before we get into that, I want to introduce Jennifer Lurkey from Legacy Architects, who's going to walk through and kind of show you what we've come up with. Jennifer?
All right, we're gonna review some architectural renderings because inquiring minds want to know, what is this gonna look like? So, little history lesson first. We've got the lock block, so that's the north portion, that's along Mill Street. The part on the corner was built first in 1889. Then 52 Stafford was built in 1892 or 93, also by the Locke family. The two buildings were connected historically on the second floor, so we're bringing that connection back. The first floor of the Locke block had a pharmacy for over 100 years. I mean, all of us probably remember it as Adams Pharmacy, but the very first tenant in 1889 was a pharmacy on the corner. The building still has the mortar and pestle that indicate a pharmacy's tools on the roof. With the hotel, after that was built, Henry Locke passed away. His wife Mary inherited it. One of the tenants on the first floor of the block, on not the pharmacist, but the other side of the first floor, was the Gelser family, still in Plymouth. They had a dry goods store, and they desperately needed to expand. And so the Gelser family convinced Mary Locke to do an addition to the building to the west. So there's a third section to the building that was built in 1898. So within 9 years, that whole building was built by the Locke family. This is the first floor. Mill Street is to your right. 52 Stafford kind of to your left. On the Mill Street side, coming in at the corner, we have a new bar and restaurant to bring life to the street, activity to the street. The hotel entrance is kind of in the middle of Stafford Street. So there's very nice brickwork, and we're wanting to enter right there. I'll show you when we look at the elevations. So the hotel lot, you come in, the front desk will be there, hotel lobby, seating area, fireplaces. Then moving over into 52 Stafford, the front part of 52 Stafford will be like a pre-event space for the event venue and banquet facility. The rear part will be banquet facility, which is kind of how it was set up historically. There was a much larger dining room than the dining room that's there right now. So kind of bringing that back. The part in the middle is commercial kitchen that we need to support both the restaurant and the event venue. The upper floors will be hotel rooms, as we mentioned, 35 rooms. So, to give everybody a refresher, this is what it looks like right now. Some of those windows on the first floor have been bricked in. We've got that ugly mansard roof from the 1960s. Storefronts are all gone. White vinyl windows since the fire. Painted brick on 52 Stafford, which was not originally painted. This is what we're envisioning. The kind of showing where there's a crosswalk coming across with that, that's where the main entrance to the hotel will be. Getting rid of all those bricked in windows, taking that brick away, we're getting those windows restored, getting the storefronts restored back to what they were historically, stripping that flaking paint off of 52 Stafford to get down to the original cream brick. It's kind of interesting, the upper part of 52 Stafford, because the whole building's kind of whitewashed right now, but that upper part of 52 Stafford had what the original blueprints called Spanish tile on it. And it was kind of like a red clay tile, but it was made out of metal, because let's remember that H.C. Locke was a metal worker. He was a tinsmith. So there's all kinds of tin accents on this building that he probably made with his own hands that we want to restore. And then that upper part of the roof kind of had this more of like a clay tile look to it, combined with some of the red pressed brick accents that are on the lock block. Those two buildings communicated visually much better with one another historically than they currently do. So we want to bring that back. Mill Street facade and how it looks as proposed, restoring those storefronts back to what they were in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The current storefront, I think, is the third or fourth iteration of storefronts that have been on this building over time. And then from the intersection, which is the photo that we see in all the historic photos that we found of this building, and the overall picture of what we're envisioning.
Any question?
The main structure is structurally sound, nothing really has to be done majorly with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a well-built building.
Yeah,
Despite the fires.
yeah.
Want to talk a little bit about the economic impact, and the county continues to see an increase in tourism, and it's up 5.5% since 2022. We estimate that if we are at 55% occupancy, we could bring an additional, over and above the cost of the rooms and stuff, another $1.5 million of sales to the community. The hotel, and it's probably really, really important, should also generate an additional $100,000 in room tax receipts. Currently, the village of Elkhart has room tax receipts that exceed $1 million. The city of Plymouth currently is at 250,000. So being able to add another $100,000 worth of room tax receipts is going to be good for the promotion of Plymouth. I think, sometimes it's hard to put a dollar value, but this hotel is going to offer significant benefits to many of the downtown businesses. This is going to bring a lot of people into our downtown, and every community is looking for unique visitors. So imagine people come from throughout the United States that will stay at this hotel. They're going to end up patronizing a lot of the businesses, whether it's restaurants, whether it's bars, whether it's some of the shops and things of that nature. So it's important to us to do what we can to strengthen those small businesses that are up and down Mill Street, Division Street, so on and so forth. But I think from our perspective, this creates a real gem in the city of Plymouth. It's a gem that is going to be important throughout the county. And let's just say that it gives us an opportunity to maybe take some of those people from Elkhart Lake and bring them south, maybe some of those people from Calder and bring a little bit to the west. But I think this important. Of course, it ties into the fact that if this was not being built, the city has not had a specific plan to also make public improvements, which will include that parking lot, which will include other infrastructure, which I'm sure Tim will be talking to you about later. So we feel pretty good about what we're doing, and what we expect will be just a really cool space. So.
I'm just going to add on just a couple of things. You know, in order for us to kind of bring this project to fruition, we think it's going to be around $16 million, not including any budget yet for contingency. So as you can imagine, with a building like this, it is likely to be far and away higher than $16 million. The average return for hotel development that developers look for is somewhere in the area of 6 to 12%. We will be lucky if we get close to 2%. You know, there was a hotel project that I think you guys were looking at, or that was in consideration on the east side of town, that didn't go through, and I'm guessing it didn't go through because of the investment and then ultimately the return that they were generating. So when I look at this project, I really look at it from a longer term perspective, and to reiterate what my Uncle Lee had said, this is not necessarily an investment, you know, for our family to generate a return. This is really more of an investment that collectively together we can make to help generate strong returns for all the future investment that can happen, as this can be a catalyst for more investment in our downtown area. And then in addition to be a nice benefit to all the existing small businesses that kind of occupy Mill Street and the entire city of Plymouth. So I'd hope for us to, as we kind of work through different things on how we can work together, and be it in, you know, creating the TIF, certainly the consideration of creating a redevelopment TIF to just expand the number of years that this project could benefit, to help us kind of get us to the point where this feels good as an investment that we can make into the community. There's state and federal programs that are available for the city to apply for. The WEDC has a Community Redevelopment Act fund that allows for projects to be funded up to a max of $250,000. Like, if this doesn't kind of fit the definition of community development, I don't know what does. So I think there's opportunities again for our minds to kind of come together and think creatively about how we can have significant private support, but also public support for a building that can really be kind of the showcase and centerpiece of our downtown Plymouth, and create a great platform for us to continue to grow the city, as well as to have other development opportunities come into the city, because there'll be a destination. So I thank you for your time, and thank you for, again, your support that you have given our family and our company over the years, and look forward to being able to work with you in the future on this very, very exciting project, the Lock Block. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate the firsthand information on the Lock project. It sounds very interesting. Would you be willing to answer any questions that the council might have?
Absolutely.
The chair will allow interaction with the presenters. Diane?
Do you anticipate problems with parking?
Problems with parking, I think we're working with what we have available to us, but that parking lot improvement along the Mullet, kind of southeast of the property, would be very beneficial to this project. There is parking obviously to the east, you know, the public parking that exists there. And then, you know, our street parking is, you know, is also available. So, challenged, but not something that's not workable.
I think it's been a long term goal project, and I refer to the east side of Stafford Street, which has been completed now for a number of years, and how nice that area is with no overhead wires and the like. We've always wanted to do something on the west side of Stafford, which this project certainly gives us that opportunity now to do something on the west side, get rid of those overhead wires and all of the congestion that's back there. The river as an asset of the community, how it's benefited the east side of Stafford Street. Certainly now we have the opportunity to benefit the west side of Stafford Street as well, using that as a natural influx for not only the front Mill Street, but the back of the buildings and the parking area that's back there. We currently have maybe 100 parking stalls back there. We can increase that and help facilitate eventually what might or might not happen there. But the opportunity of a project like this to grow the entire downtown area, I think, is nothing but amazing. And I certainly appreciate coming forward and trying to have something that will be a landmark, literally restoring a landmark to the community. It's very, very interesting. Quite a challenge, but certainly one that can be done. And some of the numbers that you cited, I know the Chamber of Commerce would greatly appreciate some additional room tax money in their wallet to promote the community. So certainly that's an opportunity. So any other questions? Start with Angie, go ahead.
Is it a phased opening, or is everything, the bar, restaurant, banquet, hotel, all started the same day? Okay. And then anticipated completion / opening?
Opening is tentatively planned for May 1st of 2026. That's a tight schedule from a construction standpoint. And you know, this gets back to this public-private partnership. We're going to be working real closely with him and his staff as we create this TID, and with the idea that it's really important that we accelerate that process. The last thing we want to do is open this hotel and have a grand opening on May 1st of 2026 and have parking lots torn up behind us. So we've got one shot at a grand opening, and we want to make it the best possible.
John, you had a question?
Yeah, I don't mean to demean the businesses we have downtown right now, but I think this probably brings in just a little different clientele than we're used to coming into town and staying at one of the hotels or whatever, and probably going to the races or whatever. These people Plymouth could be a destination, right, is what you're hoping for. Kind of a short stop to Door County or something. Are you hoping that maybe there's, I don't know if the right word is an upgrade to the downtown businesses, so not to be like Mackinac Island or something like that? You know, we don't want 7 fudge shops, but certainly, those people would expect some entertainment, some music venues, things like that. How do we kind of work towards that end, I guess?
So I would expect that, again, that this hotel could kind of serve as a catalyst for future development. And each of that development is going to happen to serve the community in the way that it needs to service the community. We don't envision having to have this be a super, super high-end restaurant that the Plymouth community cannot go to. We have been talking about kind of approachable, casual type of an environment that the community can feel good about being at, while also serving that market that's maybe coming from other communities into Plymouth. So how the future development all transpires, I think is dependent on the success of this property and what it does, and then what it causes other entrepreneurs or current business owners to think about how they may be able to continue to invest in their business or to create a new business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, John, I think one of the key things is hopefully going to be, I think we all know that there could be improvements to a lot of facades in downtown Plymouth, and maybe this will be the encouragement that some of these businesses have to update. It's not just updating, there's a lot of maintenance that's required on a lot of the front of our buildings, and that's part of our hope, is that the community will see or the property owners will see the benefit.
I think
John, then we'll come back to Angie.
I have a question, just to follow up on you talking about, bringing in a clientele from outside our area that may have a special kind of interest. And I think one of that kind of group are people that like to travel around and look at significant kinds of architecture. Is this a type of architecture, or is this a lot architecture?
No, it's a Victorian architecture. It was designed by an architect from Sheboygan called Charles Hilbert Chaucer. He did a lot of buildings kind of in this area. They have really ornate brickwork. I mean, if you look at the upper part of this building, the brickwork there is gorgeous. The ins and outs and the turning bricks on an angle and all that stuff is gorgeous. So we would call this building a Victorian, maybe a Queen Anne. The upper transoms on the second floor, they've got the colored pattern of glass around the outside. That's kind of a Queen Anne sort of detail. But yeah, I mean, so downtown Plymouth is a historic district. Legacy Architecture wrote the nomination for the historic district, hoping that it would spur these types of projects. And really the first example was the Dairy Heritage Center and the cheese counter. And this is just another project that I think will be able to utilize that historic district designation.
I want Lola, because she's obviously very well versed in the hotel area, to just kind of talk to kind of the attraction to historic boutique hotels for travelers.
The attraction, this is a market unto itself. There are a lot of markets that this hotel can bring to the community, but the historical aspect and the interest in the historical aspect is really on the rise. When we compare ourselves to the other historical boutique properties in Wisconsin, this will be a real gem. And historic properties are much like, for people who like them, it's much like, let's just say people who visit golf courses or visit spas. It's a clientele unto itself who wants to experience part of their interest base. And so they will go around, guests like this will, in that market, will go wherever the product is. And so that would be one of the main markets to attract. Thank you.
Yeah.
Angie, you had a question?
I was gonna, off of what John was saying, but it kind of goes into that too, is that there's a lot of tourists coming to Plymouth that are staying in Elkhart and Kohler. I think Jackie back there can attest that you get tourists that are staying in other places, which is great that they're coming into our downtown, they're spending money. What this is important to note though is that those room tax dollars are staying in Plymouth now, not Elkhart or Kohler.
The opportunity with the banquet of marketing to kind of that smaller size wedding too, goes to that point as well, because now we have a destination locally where you can hold a wedding and pretty much take over the hotel.
Yeah.
And have your room nights on multiple weekends throughout the summer and the shoulder season for sure.
Any other questions? We certainly appreciate the information, and the designs are just gorgeous. I really anxious to see things start to take shape. I know we'll create a mess and some dust and whatnot, but the conclusion will certainly benefit the community and the synergy that it creates with other businesses in the area. Really look for a growth that could spur us to the next level, and there's no doubt about that. Lola?
Can I just say one more thing on behalf of the merchants here? I believe all of us would be in agreement that there is a difference since 52 closed. There's a difference in the amount of traffic we have. We really, as merchants, we really miss those visitors coming to Plymouth, and this would be a wonderful increase to the number of visitors, because walk-in traffic is significantly less. The people who come to Plymouth recognize it as one of the few retail experiences that you can have nowadays, because there's a lot of things that have gone online. But the traffic that this can produce for all of the merchants within this city is really remarkable. If we missed it from, and we do miss it from 52, we certainly can appreciate the increase in traffic that there would be with this facility.
Good.
And Mayor, before we go, again, just a reminder, like, for us to do this the way that we should be doing this as a community, we do have to figure out a way to kind of get the support of the city and the community to help us bring this to 100% fruition. So as you contemplate and you think about this, just, again, I hope you appreciate and think of it from the perspective that we are. This is really more about the return that's generated after this building is done for our broader community and the businesses that are here, not this property. This is the thing, this is the centerpiece that can help build greater returns for other families, other business people, other community members to benefit, long term.
Yeah. That's what I add one other thing. The A-Chappa Construction has been chosen as our general contractor, and be prepared for a lot of activity in the downtown. We're dealing with a building that has a 0 lot line, and I was with the project leader downtown earlier this afternoon. He's working with Matt Nagel. We've also talked to Matt and talked to Ken. But tomorrow we will start to put fencing up along the sidewalk. That will ultimately go out into Stafford Street, because we have to have a place to stage the materials. You get large lumber orders and everything else. There's enough room on sidewalks, and we'll have lift trucks pushing stuff up on the upper floors. So there'll be a lot of hustle and bustle going on. I think they've got good safety protocols in place.
Sure they do. Good. Well, we thank you very much for taking the time and doing the presentation. Certainly, as things develop, working with Tim and Matt and Kathy to facilitate things, and certainly the chief as well, and we'll do what we can to facilitate the project. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. With that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also moved.
I'll second the motion to
We have
adjourn.
a first.